I was born and raised in one of the most beautiful places on earth. It was a time filled with wonder that I'll always remember. But when my family chose to move our zoo halfway around the world, that is when my greatest journey began.
It's quite an experience watching that film, and I can only imagine the experience of 3 years of living that film, conceiving that film, going through every nuance of it, and then delivering it back to us.
I read the book 10 years ago when it first came out. I didn't read it as a movie. It's actually quite movie unfriendly, especially the ending. It examines illusions. With movies, you totally rely on illusion, emotional flow, pretty much. Photorealistic images, you're in a black box, and the attention that it requires from you is really mandatory. It's unlike reading a book. It's a philosophical book, obviously very expensive. Kid, tiger, a small boat, ocean. As you're reading it, it's just not cry out to be a film. Why did I change my mind 4.5 years ago? Fox 2000 came to me and said, this is available. Would you consider doing it? That's actually all it takes. It's so seductive. It's like this unfilmable thing. Somebody actually is going to spend money doing this. There are two things that changed my mind. Actually, not only I was seduced, but actually I was tempted to do it. One is that if I can find the third person and the first person, that's the same. So you have the examination, the third person's perspective. In this case, the older Pi telling the story, and the younger Pi experience it. If they're the same person, maybe I can pull this off. And then I had a silly thought, if I do in 3D, maybe with another dimension, that number keeps on running forever, maybe I can see a circle, maybe another dimension, maybe things will open up. When I make this movie, I persuade Fox, because I ask for 25 more millions if I do 3D. Yeah. And they're like, normally we push people to do 3D if it's an action movie, but this is a literature property. What are you doing? Why do you want to spend that money? It doesn't make sense. But I was just honestly tell them, I think that much budget to do plus 3D, it's a big risk. But less budget to do 2D is just a simple bad idea. I just had that feeling that might be the case. I just thought it would make water look different. You immerse the audience more into what Pike's experience. So you can do a water movie without Tom Hanks, Indian boy. So they can sit through it. The water has to be a character. I think water is very hard to control. I thought I have to think out of the box. I have to create something that's controllable so I can use that in 3D as a character. So I created a new wave tank. Normally, when they shove the water on one side, it bounces back from the other. Eventually, it becomes this kind of bathtub effect. So to imitate that long wavelength in the open ocean, we created a 75-meter long, 35 meters width, and 4 meters high. On one hand, we shove 12 big machines. We show the wave, control the pattern, the size. And on the other hand, we lay a lot of tetrapod so we can dissolve the wave. 3D really gives you a volume, the depth. It picks up so much details. Very often, I guide a young actor to act. I'll be watching 2D monitor next to the camera. Then I went back to my control booth and I watched in 3D. Every time I had to go back and adjust his performance to be more subtle, smaller. About 2 months ago, we showed the movie Unfinished to open the New York Film Festival. That's the first time it meets the real audience. And 3 days before that, I saw everything put together. I thought that might be working. And I started to cry at the end when the credits rolling. Because for the most part, in the post-production even, when I was editing the movie, the picture's not fully realized. The digital work is still working. So we're like having half-baked images for editing. The music, real music, is not recorded. I just have a feeling it might be working. I sort of have certain vibe. I know what works better than the other. But that's not always like I can rely on. It's just like you have better chance. That doesn't guarantee that it will work.
Let's say from a Narnia perspective, you see the lion, you go, oh, that looks pretty good. And then it opens its mouth and it's Liam Neeson. The spell is broken. In your case, it's about having a character. It's about having a real presence.
Because of the book, the tiger has to look like tiger, not a human projection. So there's no such thing as anthropomorphism. In this case, I watch every detail so that doesn't happen, because that's the book. Now, the tiger is a tiger. When it goes away to the jungle, it doesn't look back. That's very important. Pi's relation and love to the tiger is unrequited. It's a one-way street. It goes there, it doesn't come back. So that's the kind of relationship I try to capture. In order to do that, I made an important decision. I'm going to bring real tiger into the mix, which is very challenging for the CG crew, especially in 3D. Nobody knows if we can do that or not. But I think it's a must. I think the best use of visual effects, you mix the real thing with the CG work. We have 4 tigers brought to the set. We photograph it. 23 of those shots made into the movie. The majority didn't, but there are great references. About 10 years ago, I did another movie which is heavy CGI as the Hulk. There's no physics of a 15 feet tall, 2,000-pound person jumping 3 miles long. What is that physics? So you don't really have the references. We can do really great nuances on the face, but the weight is, you look at Avatar, they didn't solve it either. It's very hard to do something that's unreal. But the good news is that we have real tigers for references. So down to every muscle movement, every skin twitch, every little expression, or how the hair catches light, every detail we have references.
We were talking about the CGI element and working in that world. You've got an actor who, by notion, is not an actor. It was his brother that was supposed to be auditioning.
That poor brother, the whole world knows that he's that
Yeah,
brother.
the poor bugger. And so his brother ends up getting this role. And not only is it his first gig, he's got to act to nothing.
Surya is just tremendous talent. He has no problem believing something you pitch to him, and his whole body will act accordingly. Some people are born to do that. He's one of those. First time I met him, I thought he looked like Pi. When you read the book, it's very hard to imagine what Pi looks like. He's every man. But when I saw him, I began to see the movies. Actually, not being an actor, he doesn't have habits either. It's a zero. He's just adding things. You don't have to deduce anything. So that's kind of that innocence of beauty and his effort. He really wanted to do it. He was motivated to do it. And after a while, he is Pi. He lived like Pi. There's no acting needed. It's a beautiful experience.
A lot of filmmakers say that there are 3 films during the process: the story, the shoot, and then the edit. I'm interested to know what your very first intention was with this film and how close you got to that.
I think it's changed quite a bit. To me, there are 2 movies. One is you imagine, and then you dictate whatever within your power in shooting, and then you think you got something. Then you watch either the first cut or just assembly cut. And when you put the movie together, from my experience, it always surprised me. It's just something else. Then it will take me about 3 weeks to relearn the movie, starting from watching all the dailies over again, pick the right takes, right moments, my favorite moments, then put it together. For that 3 weeks, I conceive what the movie really is, what I got from a new perspective, and then take it from there, and the movie will go, another start. That's the post-production, all the way to the end. I think it's working. I'm very pleased to see how it plays all over the world now. It plays very different from India to China to especially from Asia to America. It seems like this is a strange movie. People take it very differently from place to place.
I understand that China, in particular, is going very deep and finding all these different layers.
They took the movie and then they write about it quite intensely. The reaction was, of course, typically they like the ending more than anything. They found it disturbing and they love it. With the second story in mind, how Pi created the first story, that's like very popular take. That tiger is his inner beast. So the tiger never exists. So they're really into that. In Taiwan, maybe because they know me well, I don't know what it is. Right away they go for Richard Parker, and they think that's related to his father. You know, they kept asking questions. What about this father thing with you? Is it because you never say goodbye to your father? Not only that, what does that tiger mean to you? I don't know if necessarily the storyteller is the father. But like in India, Swami, when they tell a story, there's always a wisdom behind it. You know, there's a punchline. I used to work with James Shim, as you probably know. He's the head of Focus Feature. He's 5 years younger than I am, but he get to play the father's role. He's a producer, and I can play the child's role. You know, I want something, and either I get it or I don't get it. I fight. So things are very clear. And this time I didn't work with him. For some reason, I felt I need to feel that loneliness. I need to be the father, I think. Because I think in some ways this is a movie about growth. You know, Pi coming of age. He lost his innocence and thinking back what it all means. And he lose that paradise, the zoo, you know. And at the end, the tiger was walking away. So somehow in the back of my head, I myself need some growth. I have some growth to do. And everybody has their point of view. I think they got a point.